All right, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started here. So again, my name is Tyler Hainsworth. I'm the Client Services Manager here at XOLogic, and we're excited to kind of do this presentation, this webinar for you guys. What we'd like to do is we really want to start doing these about twice a month. And so we'll be sending you some invitations, and we'll probably put a webinar schedule in the dashboard in the notification center for that. So again, to recap today's call, we're going to be talking about the vendor page and then also what our data team does when we're working with the vendors and the manufacturers to ensure that you guys have the most up-to-date information. But going back to kind of our goal with 2016 in client services, we want to start proactively reaching out to you. And we understand that you guys use our product as a technology piece for your business, but really what XOLogic, what we want to become is really your guys' business partners. So not only with technology, but how can we better your business, whether that's through what we do on XOLogic, if there's some other products maybe that you'd like us to see to develop. Those are some things that we really want to become more of a business partner as well. So one of the things that we're going to be doing that you'll see happening starting next week is we're coming up on the client services side is with some account reps. So we've got the our client services team that's here, but each client service rep has a showroom, has a customer that they're going to be assigned to. So we're going to the route of more account reps where we will actually be reaching out to you proactively, probably every other month, just to check in, and make sure that everything is running smoothly for you all. And that you have that. So expect a call from one of us here in the next month or two, and we'll be reaching out to all of our customers, and so that way you have a specific contact here at XOLogic that can really help you out with that. So that's what you'll kind of see in the client services side here in the next month or two. We'll be more proactively reaching out to you. So. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started then with our presentation. So let's talk about the vendor page. So the very first part that you'll see is we are logged in here to the dashboard. Okay, and then to get to the vendor page, we'll go over here to Admin, Catalog and Pricing, and then we'll go over here to Vendors. Okay. So this will show me, and this is just a test website that we have internally here at XOLogic. So you'll have all of your vendors on here, and we're going to touch all these different areas. Okay. One area that I want to talk about is under the vendor product catalogs. Add vendor catalog. So a lot of the times our customers will email us or call us and say, hey, I would like to add this line. Okay, and we can most certainly do that for you. But if you log in, you have the ability to add a catalog at any time. Okay, so you can click on right here where it says the plus sign, Add Vendor Catalog. Okay, and then you can type in whatever vendor that you're looking for. Okay, if we type in, let's say I already have Adesso, and I click on Add Vendor Catalog, and I try and type in Adesso. Again, okay, this one is a different one, but in most cases, let's try, KraftMade. So I have KraftMade down here already loaded. So if I try and search for it again, nothing's going to pull up. Okay, so that'll tell me that I already have that vendor in there. Okay, but let's say that I want to, I'm looking for AF lighting. Okay, so I currently do not have AF lighting as a line on my website. Okay, so if I want to add it, what I can do is come in here, search for any vendor that I'm looking for, and I can click on, let's say I want to add AF lighting. Okay, it'll tell me if it's that it's XO maintained, and we'll discuss that, kind of what the difference is between XO maintained and client maintained. So I'll click on AF Lighting, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on Add. Okay, and then you can type in your account number, and we'll come back to this page. Okay, so let's say that you had set everything up here. We'll put in an account number, click on Save. Okay, and then now that vendor will be added to my account. Now we'll talk about if it's a manual verify or if it's auto verify, but I wanted to touch on and make sure that you guys knew if at any time there is a vendor that you wanted to add, you can do that yourself here. Okay. Over here, I can search for a vendor to try and find, what vendor that I'm looking for. I'm looking for Capital. It pulls up right there for me. Okay, get rid of that, or you can always do a Control F, and that'll pop it up on your screen as well. Okay, and then we have over here we've got our Show All. Okay, so in our Show All, we can kind of sort this by showing all of my verified customers. So if it says verified here, that means that account and that catalog is now live on your website. Okay. If we've got pending, so we've got some items here that or some lines that are pending. Okay. So these ones, anytime that you have vendors that are in the pending status, that means that they are a manual verify vendor. Okay. And what that means is these vendors that are in a pending status has asked XO to not automatically turn on all of their catalog information to that showroom. Okay, they've asked us to put it in a pending status, and those vendors have asked would like the showrooms to reach out to the manufacturer, to the vendor, and get approval. Okay, so anytime you see a vendor that's in pending status, go ahead and send your vendor rep an email. Just say, hey, I'm on with XOLogic, and I'd like to show your product on my website with XOLogic, and I just need your approval. Okay, and you can CC client services on that email to them. And then once we get a response back and we see that that you are approved, then we'll go in here and we'll change it from pending to verified, and then you can see that. Okay, but that would be a reason as to why vendors are pending. Okay, many of the vendors that we have are just auto verify. You can come in here, add the vendor catalog, and it'll switch to verified. Give it a couple of minutes for that to update. It might not work instantaneously, but give it a couple minutes for that to work, and then you should see those products on your website. So many vendors are auto verify. You turn it on, and you can see that. But then there are those vendors that have some rules and policies in place that we're trying to accommodate to them as well. Okay. All right, and then we've got, so our vendor maintained, so which is XO maintained. So that means that that XOLogic has a working relationship with the manufacturers, and they've sent us the data in a way that we can put it on your website, and we're receiving updates from them, and you don't have to worry about that information not being up to date. So we're constantly working with them. If you do have a vendor that is, let's say, client maintained, okay, so for example, I've got a couple of ones on here that are client maintained. One is, an example is Universal Lighting Systems. Okay, that's a good example here, where Universal Lighting Systems, at one point, either a showroom or they gave us some information, some product to put onto XOLogic, and but then they no longer keep it up to date. Maybe they went out of business, or they're not sending us correct prices and images and things like that, and we feel like they're not working with us anymore, and we're unable to maintain it. So we'll change it to client maintained. So if you have a client maintained vendor, then that means it's kind of at your discretion to ensure that that data and that information is up to date. Okay. You can still add those in there, but if it says client maintained, just kind of be aware that that data may not be the most up to date. And for example, right here, it'll show we've got our effective date right here. And the effective date shows when that was last updated. So Universal Lighting Systems was last updated in 2011. So the information obviously is not that current. But if you wanted to add it on there, you absolutely could. Okay. So if I come back over here to, let's do my show all. Okay. Kind of touching on that effective date here. Anytime that you guys want to know when our data team received an update from a vendor, from a manufacturer, come on here to this page and look at the effective date. Okay. Anytime that our data team makes an update to images, to prices, to new items, whatever it may be, this is where you can see when that was updated. So Adesso was updated on March 17th of 2016. Okay. We see Capital was updated on April 11th of 2016. Okay. And here you can see, now that we've waited a little bit, I added AF Lighting over here on the Add Vendor page. We waited a couple minutes. Now that they're here, they're verified, so they're an auto-verify customer or manufacturer. So now I've got their information on here. Okay. So if you see, somebody like, we've got a vendor here, CraftMade. Last time that XOLogic got an update from them was 2015. Okay. So kind of going along with what our data team does, we have data members that are assigned to these vendors that are proactively reaching out to them to make sure that we get the most up-to-date information. Okay. What we have found that really works effectively is that if we work together on getting that up to date. So maybe CraftMade has sent you an updated list, and for some reason we're still stuck in 2015 with that information. Okay. What we found is that if we work together, and if you also reach out to CraftMade and say, hey, I'm with XOLogic, you've provided me an updated sheet, but you haven't provided one to XOLogic. Okay. More often than not, very, very soon they'll send us that updated information that they sent you, and then within a couple of days we will get that updated, and then that will change. Okay, so kind of if we work together on some of these vendors to make sure that they're sending us the correct information, then that usually works out the best. Okay, I'm just going to jump over here, see if there's any notes. Let's see. We'll kind of we'll come back to these questions here. Let's see. So we've got one. How often do most vendors get updated? So Ben, I guess I'll kind of take some of these questions here since it's on topic. So Ben asks, how often do most vendors get updated? So typically, vendors, the most time that they send us their updated catalogs is towards the end of the year and the middle of the year is usually when our data team is pretty slammed with that. So usually we'll start seeing updates from vendors in November, December, January, and that's where we'll get those. And then kind of towards the middle of the month, the middle of the year. So typically around kind of the June and January Dallas market is when we get those. And then let's see here. So what kind of format do you want your data in? If you want, you can email client services. We have our kind of our data standard. We have a spreadsheet that lays out exactly how that information needs to be. And so if you email client services, they can email you kind of that data standard spreadsheet. and then you can send that off to them. And as long as they send us their information in that format, then that works great. Sometimes we get vendors that they'll send it to us in like a PDF document. That really doesn't work, but if we have a spreadsheet with assigned column headers that we can provide to you, that really works out the best. I'll take a couple more questions here and then we'll move on. So Ben also asked quantity updates from vendors. Great question, Ben. So we receive inventory files from the majority of the vendors and the manufacturers. If we receive an inventory file from the manufacturers, then that gets updated daily on our side, which is what shows on your website. So some vendors provide us with quantity with an inventory file. Some vendors don't. And then we'll take this last question here, and then we'll move on. So viewer 34 asks, is the effective date just for pricing, or does that reflect individual inventory amounts? So it wouldn't be. Yeah, it wouldn't be for the inventory amounts. It would be anytime that effective date would be anytime that we receive catalog data, new catalog data, new images, new pricing. That's what that would be at. So, so good. All right. So let's kind of answer those questions. So let's move on here. So let's dive into to one of these vendors here. Okay, so let's go to Capital here. So I'm going to click on this, and let's talk a little bit about this page here. Okay, so we're at the Edit Vendor Catalog page, and we've got your account information. That's where you can put in your account number. Okay, and then you've got your vendor rep. You've got your custom ID. You can put that in there. That's just kind of for your own information. And then we've got our pricing policies. Okay. So in our pricing policies, we have our base cost multiplier. Okay, typically we'll leave that at a 1.0. Okay, the reason why we want to leave that as a 1 is if you were to change this to let's say 2.0. Okay, all of the cost that you have for capital. Okay, so we're editing the vendor capital. If you were to change this to 2, the cost that comes across for capital would all be multiplied by 2. Okay, so that's where maybe your cost might be off. Is if you have your base cost multiplier changed to something else. So typically we'll leave that at a 1.0. That way, whatever the cost is for capital, it's going to maintain that cost. Anything multiplied by 1 is itself, right? So in most cases, we'll leave that at a 1.0. Okay. Shipping. What this is here is you can put in a percentage off of your COGS. Okay. We really don't use this section here because if you're selling on the web, or in store, in the back end you have your shipping settings where you can define what type of shipping you wanted to do. Okay, what this section is for is, let's say that you wanted to add 10% to the cost for shipping. Okay, you could type in 10%. So everything on that order would have 10% included in there. So it kind of includes your shipping cost already into the order. Okay. Typically, most people don't use this because we have an option for shipping, and you've got different options available here. Okay. Now, discount. This is a really good feature. There are a lot of vendors like Tech Lighting, for example, where Tech Lighting, they provide us with just the list price. Okay. They provide us with just the list. They don't provide us with the cost. Okay, and so typically these vendors, they will give you, they'll provide you what your discount is. Maybe that's a 50-10 or a 50-20. Okay, so whatever that discount is, we can put that in there. Okay, So when we put the discount in, let's say 60% is your discount, so it'll take 60% off of your list price. Okay, so that's where we'll want to put that in there. So I've seen some showrooms, they'll email in or call in and say, wow, my cost is what the retail price is for this item. Okay, right there, that alerts me that they haven't put in their discount. Okay, so if we put that discount in there, then that takes 60 or 50% off whatever your discount is from your list price and provides you the cost for that item. Okay, we've got our vendor required policies here. Okay, so on our vendor required policies, we've got two sections. We've got our website and we've got our in-store. Okay, so you can have, if you want, two different pricing policies. You can have a pricing policy for your website, or you can have a pricing policy for your in-store. Okay, so on the website, okay, again, we're looking at capital. Okay, so on your website here, we click on this drop down. Okay, and we've got a couple of different options here. Okay, they're sending us IMAP pricing, and they've got a couple of UMAP, UMP, and MSRP. So since we're looking at the website, okay, IMAP, which is the Internet Minimum Advertised Pricing, okay, we have two options here. We've got IMAP as minimum, and we've got IMAP as actual. Okay, so right here we've got 3,982 items out of 4,136 items. So there are basically 3,900 items that have an IMAP policy for capital. Okay, so let me explain the difference between what IMAP as minimum is and IMAP as actual. Okay, so IMAP as minimum is if you select that on the pricing on your website, it makes it so that you will never go below IMAP. Okay, so if you have that set, you can be rest assured that your prices for capital will never go below the IMAP price. But if we have it set as minimum, and if, let's say, you have a markup, you want to sell it on your website for a little bit more than IMAP. Okay, if you have it set to minimum, then it will allow your markup for capital to come into place. So if you wanted to sell it for a little bit more than IMAP, it would allow you to do that. Okay. Now, IMAP is actual. What that means is if you did have a markup for capital and you wanted to sell it for a little bit more than IMAP on your website, if you had it as actual, it would disregard that markup. So IMAP as actual will disregard any pricing structure multiplication that you have, and it will only display the IMAP price on the website. Okay, and that's what most showrooms do, is they'll set it to IMAP as actual. Because they're selling it on the website, they want to be competitive with everybody else, and so they'll just set it to IMAP as actual and then forget about it, because they know that every single price for capital has an IMAP price on the website. Okay, and then we've got in-store, which is the same thing. Now, your in-store pricing, that's when you are logged in, or a customer walks into your showroom and you log in and you're building an order with them. This is it's the same thing, but if you wanted to have different pricing policies. So most showrooms like to kind of keep that the same. If they're advertising a price on the website, they want to make sure that it's the same price in store, right? Okay, so that's the vendor required policies here. And then we've got our display options. Okay. So there's a new feature that I want to talk about here in this section. So we've got our display options. Okay, it's set to show to all accounts, show on the website. Okay. Now you can do this where this is a new feature that we've come out with here in the past month or two, where you can allow customers to add to cart and purchase products. Again, we're talking just about capital here. Okay. Or if you want, for capital, you can say, do not allow purchasing, but allow add to wish list. Okay. So for capital, all of your other vendors, you could have the shopping cart enabled, but let's say that you didn't want to sell capital online, but you still wanted to show it online and still have them add items to their wish list. So you can check this here where it says show on the website, but do not allow purchasing, but allow add to wish list. Okay. So that's what we can do there as well. Okay. So another option that we have is what we call a call for price. Okay. So let's say that for this vendor here, capital, you didn't want to show any pricing. Okay. But rather you wanted to say on the item call for price. Okay. So you can do this for an entire line of capital if you don't want to show the pricing. Okay. You can click on show on website. Okay. So to enable call for price, to remove your price and just display that, check this that says show to all accounts, show on the website, and then click do not allow purchasing but allow add to wish list. And right here, keep this box unchecked, okay, where it says show product prices. If I click on that, it's going to show the product prices. If I uncheck that, then it's going to display all of capital's information, but then on the price, it's going to say call for price. Okay, so that's a new feature that we've kind of come up with here recently as well, that we give you that ability to do that. Okay, jumping over here to vendor rank. This is where you can set your vendor priority. Okay, so if we jump back over here to our vendor page, okay, you can see I've got my vendor rank 1. So all of these vendors are kind of my top vendors right here. Okay, if I keep scrolling down, here's my vendor rank 2. Okay, so these are my second ranks. Okay, and then vendor rank 3. Here's all my third in line. Okay, so you can rank how you want your vendors and your products to display on the website. Okay, so all of my vendors that are ranked number 1, which is the highest that you can go, all of my vendors here, these are all the ones that are going to show up first on the website. Okay, so these are going to show up first, and then after that, then my Casablanca, Classic, Corvette, then these ones are going to show up next. Okay, so you can set that vendor ranking here where, let's say that I wanted volume, or let's say I wanted Casablanca to be in my grouping for vendor rank number 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag it up, and now Casablanca is vendor rank number 1. And let's say volume lighting, I wanted them to be down on vendor rank, let's keep moving them down here. I wanted them to be on my vendor rank 3, so they're down here. Okay, so you can do that, kind of change that ranking that way, or you can set it right here. If you click on the individual one, you can set the vendor rank priority from 3 to 2. Click on save. Okay, and then that's there for you. Okay. Now, one last item that's on this vendor item page here is right here where it says settings will be honored. Vendor is web ready. Okay. So we do have some vendors that will allow you to add their line to the XOLogic database, but they don't want to show it, or they don't allow you to sell online. Okay. So right here it says vendor is web ready. So you'll see all of Capital's products on your website. So if you've added a vendor and you see where it says vendor is not web ready, then that means that that vendor has a policy on that specific line where you can still add it. So when customers walk into your showroom, you can still bring up the catalog and they'll be able to see it. but then you just can't purchase. They just can't purchase products on the website. Okay, so that's what that is for: web ready or not web ready. Okay, so that's that page here. Okay, let's take a look at some of these questions here. Okay, so Rich asks, we'll take a couple questions here. If there is no IMAP, what will the price be? Great question, Rich. So if there is no IMAP, then what it'll do is it'll go to the next pricing policy. So if there's no IMAP on that, then it'll go to UMAP. If there's no UMAP, then it'll go to UMRP. If there's no UMRP assigned, then it'll go to MSRP. Okay, so you can kind of see it that way. Okay, so good question there, Rich. Let's see here. So Rich asked if vendor doesn't always have IMAP 100% of their items, what happens? So if the vendor data doesn't have IMAP for 100% of their items, what happens? Yeah, so same thing. So on the pricing policy, if there is no IMAP, the system will check for what price is there: UMAP, UMRP, SMRP, and it'll kind of go down the list right there. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look here. So let's move on from the vendor page. Okay, so that's kind of it on that vendor information. Okay, one last part that I wanted to talk about is on the vendor settings. So if you wanted to add one vendor at a time, you could click on Add Vendor Catalog, search for it, click on it, and then it would give you the vendor. Okay. Or if you wanted to do it multiple times, come up here to Admin and go to Import. And we're at our Import section here. Okay, so we've got our vendors, okay, our file type. We're looking at the vendors here. In your Excel spreadsheet, your column headers should say vendor and account number. And you can just copy and paste that into your Excel spreadsheet in the column header. Okay, so the V needs to be capitalized, the A needs to be capitalized, okay, and these are required fields, okay. So then the vendor, you can type in the vendor name, okay, or the account number. Okay, so if you had multiple, maybe you were doing 20 or 30 vendors at a time. Okay, rather than doing it all at once, you can create a spreadsheet, save it as a CSV file, okay, save it as a CSV file, and then come on here, choose File, and then you can upload it. Okay, and then click on Import, and then it will spit out some of the ones that you did wrong. Okay, so that's kind of a quick and easy way to do that. Okay. All right, so that's kind of it for the vendor side of things. So what I want to do now is kind of just touch on quickly what our data team does to help ensure that your data is up to date. We definitely understand that it can be frustrating if the pricing is wrong on your website or some data isn't there that should be there. We understand that, and we see that the importance of always having up-to-date and accurate information. Okay, and so we have a data team that's all they do here is making sure that's up to date. So really, kind of what our data team does is they maintain kind of the lighting manufacturer's pricing, the catalog, images. We do that throughout the U.S. and Canada for those vendors. Okay. Let's see. We talked about some of the inventory levels. Let's see here. So again, we kind of talked about some of these other things when we were talking about the data team. where we have our data team assigned to a vendor, kind of working together. If there is something that's wrong, a pricing issue is wrong, an inventory level is wrong, just provide us with as much information as you can with the vendor name, the item number. If you send that email off to client services or call us about that, if you can give us an example, that really helps us, because then we can go back. Well, first, we'll check our internal systems, make sure that we have everything correct. If it's wrong, then we can go back to the manufacturer, and we've got an item number with some data behind it, and we can present that to them and make sure that we get that up to date. Another thing that our data team does is we kind of track the data quality of what they're sending us. Okay, so we track the kind of the percentage of items. So of the items that we have, what percent has images, right? Do 100% have images? Do 90% have images? Catalog data, what we're looking for there. What percentage of those items comes with the width, the height, the length, a category, subcategory, a finish, a style. Those are all things that we track. And if we feel like that they're really low in some of those areas, one example who we kind of have a hard time with, one vendor, is the Minka line, right? Minka Lavery, Minka Air. That's one vendor in particular that struggle to send us really good and accurate data. But we're constantly working with them and reaching out to them. Okay. So that's kind of it for our webinar today. Again, this webinar has been recorded, and so we're going to post it on our training website, okay, which is right here. So if you're logged in, and if you go to Help and then click on Get Training, okay, this will take you to our website, XOLogic #training. Okay, this is where we've posted a lot of videos about different aspects of the website and some training. So this webinar will come onto this section right here, and so you can come back and review it at any time. So again, really appreciate your time for attending. I hope you learned something new. And like I mentioned, we're going to try and hold these webinars twice a month on different topics. And we'll post on this message section here that training and that schedule, and we'll kind of go from there. And then, if you have any further questions, or want to talk to a client service rep about what we spoke with today, or have some additional questions, feel free to email us. Again, our email is clientservices@xologic.com, or give us a call at 866-684-4134. So again, I understand your time is very precious and valuable, so I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us, and hope that this was beneficial for you guys. So I hope you have a great day. Take care.